Hello guys and welcome back to Junkyard Summit. Today I'll be doing a budget APU build using the AMD's new Ryzen 3 3200G. As seen in my previous video, the 3200G is a capable APU that can run most esports titles, and at the same time you could even enjoy more modern and as well as AAA game titles. Especially for those people who are strict in their budget. Just a quick note before we continue with our video. This is not gonna be the cheapest build that I'll be doing, but I'll provide substitutes for those parts that you can get for a cheaper price, as I spent a bit more on some of the components. And before we go to the build log itself, just a quick run through on today's components. So for my CPU, again, I went with the Ryzen 3 3200G. Though this CPU is part of the Ryzen 3000 series, this APU still runs on the 12 nanometer process node, so that is the Zen Plus microarchitecture. But it should still be an improvement over the last generation of APU. Then this will fit into my Asus EX A320M gaming motherboard. So this is an A320 motherboard, and I know that a lot of you will recommend a B350 or a B450 instead, but a lot of users, especially here in the Philippines, are still not keen on overclocking, and all they want is just a cheap and good and working motherboard. And by the way, I did a quick review on this motherboard, which you can check maybe up here or here, or I'll just post it down in the links below. And for my memory, we'll be going with Geil Super Luce RGB. This setup is going to be a 2 sticks of 4 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM. And I was able to run this on 2800 megahertz back when I was testing the 3200G. So most likely I will be using the same setup again. For storage, on the other hand, I went with an NVMe M.2 SSD from Patriot. So I have the Patriot Scorch NVMe. This is a 256 gig drive. The main reason that I went with an NVMe is I got this like 2 months ago, and it's on a really good deal. I think it's around 1,800 Philippine peso, and the current price of this now is much more expensive. And at the same time, why I went with an M.2 is for just a cleaner build, and at the same time leaving more space in case you want to add 3.5-inch hard drives in the future. For our PSU, I opted to go for an FSP Hyper K 500 watts. Again, this is not the best PSU out there, but it should be good enough for our build today. And at the same time, the 500 watt capacity of this PSU should be more than enough in case you want to run discrete GPUs down the line. So everything will be put together in the Inwin 301 case. Again, like I said a while ago, I spent a bit more on, especially on this case, as you can easily get cheaper case for as cheap as 1,000 to 1,500 Philippine peso. But the main reason I went for this one is it looks really clean and minimalistic, and at the same time the red LED accent of this case fits perfectly to our red theme build. Since the case doesn't have any cooling fans included in it, I bought myself a Raidmax NV-A120 R3. This is not an RGB fans, but it only has color presets as well as mode presets. Total cost of this build is around 19K, but you can lower it down to as much as 16,500 if you opted to a much cheaper case. For example, you could buy cases from Techware and at the same time rack. Personally, I would go for a Techware M series like their M1, M2, or M3. It was originally my plan to get one of those cases, but availability of those is really hard at the moment, and the last time I went to check it out, they don't have any stocks on it. Also, you could get cheaper SSDs. There are a lot of SATA based ones, especially if you went for a 2.5-inch SATA based SSDs. You can easily find it for as low as 1,600 or around 1,500 Philippine peso for a 256GB one. And with that out of the way, let us go to the build log itself as well as some charts and some benchmarks.